So today we'll be talking about older adults and web accessibility, drawing on the website W3C. This is based on our presentation done for the Learning and Instruction course at the École de Sciences de l'Information, the School of Information Studies at the University of Ottawa. So we've created an open education resource um, presentation based on our presentation March 2020. My name is Karine Massy, and I'll be presenting with SWAI students. So some of the contents that we'll be talking about today. So firstly, what is the W3C? We'll talk about the organization and their projects. Secondly, we'll go into detail about understanding the needs and challenges of facing older adults when engaging with technology, and how these needs are often shared with people with disabilities, as well as best practices when teaching older adults with technology, and guidelines for web design and content creation. And lastly, we'll go over some basic assistive technology that could be useful for older adults, basing it on some software and devices that are widely available to many users. So what is the W3C Web Accessibility Initiative? The World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, is an international community that develops open standards to ensure the long-term growth of the web. The W3C is involved in the WAI-Age Project. This is funded by the European Commission. The researchers examined the following to create the project: older web users' habits and needs when navigating the web, currently available information on the user needs for this demographic, as well as the overlapping needs of older internet users with people with disabilities.
So now we're going to talk about the needs of older adults and the challenges that they face while using the internet. Just to give some stats on older adults, in Canada, people aged 85 and older are one of the fastest growing population. The number have actually doubled in the last 20 years. As the population is increasing, so is their web usage. As you can see in the chart, in 2007, the total web usage among seniors was about 35%, whereas in 2016, it's almost reaching 70%. So it's important to understand older adults' needs, and that's why it becomes an important segment for businesses and governments. To understand older adults deeply, here I present the persona of Raymond Lee. Raymond Lee is 85 years old and retired. His physical conditions involve low vision, hand tremor, and mild memory loss. He loves to browse news on news websites. He uses social media to connect with his friends and family, and he also maintains a blog on art history. While he loves to do all this, he also faces barriers to web usage. He has difficulty reading small text and clicking on small links. He often feels the need to scroll back and forth with enlarged text. He's also unable to input text and capture images. To overcome these barriers, he uses some solutions like enlarging text on web browser, visiting website that uses alternative capture methods, and he also uses a special mouse for his hand tremor. Just like Raymond Lee, many other older adults face these challenges. These challenges are also often overlapped with needs of people with disabilities. These challenges can be divided into 4 sections. First, being vision. They often face challenges with reduced contrast sensitivity, color perception, and near focus. This makes it difficult for them to read web pages. Secondly, physical ability. So they have reduced control of fine motor skills and dexterity. This makes it difficult for them to use mouse or keyboard. Thirdly, hearing. They have difficulty hearing and separating sounds, which makes it difficult for them to hear audio or podcasts with background noise. Lastly, cognitive ability. They have difficulty with memory. They often get overwhelmed with new information and tend to have reduced motivation. This makes it difficult for them to follow navigation and complete online tasks. Now we've understood the needs and the challenges that older adults face. Now we're going to talk about some best practices.
We'll go over the best practices for teaching older adults technology. At this point, we would ask the audience to provide some examples of best practices for teaching older adults. Different answers would be given based on people's background and experience, either in educational backgrounds or just teaching older adults in general. Some of the basic guiding principles that we have here, we have 5 of them. It's not an exclusive list, but these are the ones that we thought were the most important when teaching older adults technology. So firstly, having some structure to your tutoring. So having a plan, asking the right questions to narrow down what exactly they are interested in learning about, and making a list for the different steps to teach each topic. Repetition is always key when teaching. So making it a point to repeat key instructions at least 3 times and checking in to see if they did understand or if they need to go over different tasks again. Thirdly, being concise is important, so not overwhelming the older adult with too much information, teaching only 1 or 2 topics at a time. And very importantly, being patient. So not everyone has grown up with technology, not everyone is comfortable using technology. So treating web use as a second language, or not assuming that they have prior experience using technology, is always useful, as well as avoiding any jargon or terms that they might not know or be familiar with. Here we have listed some assistive technology. Again, it's not an exclusive list. There's lots of technology available out there, but these are the top 3 that we thought might be useful and readily available to older adults if they are interested in purchasing these. So one of them is portable video magnifiers. It makes it easier to read different things. So zooming in can create an easier tablet to read from. Secondly, modified computer keyboards. So increasing the contrast on the keyboard, on the keys. The letters are bigger, the numbers are bigger. They're more spaced out because the keys are already bigger. And this can make it easier to learn how to use a keyboard if someone's not familiar with it. And then lastly, speech-to-text software. So again, along with a virtual assistant, speech-to-text software can create some challenges for anyone, as well as older adults. But if someone is very uncomfortable with texting or typing, speech-to-text software can make it a lot easier to write longer messages in a shorter amount of time. And at this point, we would have a Kahoot game. It's an online trivia game to kind of assess if everyone's understood the material so far. It's a fun way to make it more interactive and engaging. It's easy to play, so you just join through the link on this slide, and then viewers can be divided into 2 teams answering the questions on their own devices. And each team, so the two teams go against each other, and the ones that answer the most correct questions wins, as well as if they answer in the shortest amount of time. So some of the sample questions that we had were, which practices are less important when teaching older adults? So A, patience, B, a plan, C, snacks, or D, using abbreviated terms. So of course the answer is snacks, although important, they're not as important as the other three when teaching older adults. Second question, assistive technology is always user-friendly for older adults, true or false? This is false. Again, assistive technologies such as virtual assistants can have some challenges for older adults due to the software not recognizing exactly what is being said, and can become very confusing for anyone. Question 3, teaching older adults technology can help you adapt your teaching style to different people, true or false? True. Of course, a lot of the challenges that older adults have when interacting with technology can be an overlapping need with lots of other people. We discussed earlier overlapping needs with people with disabilities, and it could be anyone.
So now that we have seen the needs and challenges faced by older adults, it's also important to understand how to design website for older adults. These can be divided into 4 parts, which overlap with the barriers that they generally face. To avoid any kind of vision barrier, we must make websites more readable. There are different ways to make websites more readable. Some of them are space. So using space between paragraphs, using sufficient white space on web page can help better readability. Using appropriate font size and style, which may include using sans serif typeface, using 12 or 14 point font size, and also try to avoid using italics, because it makes it difficult for older adults to understand. Allowing users to change text size can also be beneficial. Left justification is the best. Using a high contrast color combination, use colors to group information, and also letting users change contrast settings can make your website more readable. It's also important to provide better support to overcome physical disability. So firstly, mouse usage. Using single clicks as mouse clicks can be helpful. Treating double clicks also as single clicks can be helpful. Avoid using automatically scrolling text because it can be distracting. Using large buttons, which are easily clickable, is generally helpful. Also, providing access to website with the use of keyboard shortcuts can provide better support for anybody who has physical disability. Thirdly, using appropriate media to avoid or overcome hearing barriers. Transcripts, so providing audio and video transcripts can be helpful. Using open captioning and all text tags with meaningful descriptions to images. Giving an option to text-to-speech can be useful. Lastly, making content easy to understand or follow. This can help avoid any kind of cognitive disability. Navigation, allowing fewest steps or clicks to complete a task. Incorporating options like previous page or next page. Providing easy to understand content, so grouping related topics or putting key information first. Lastly, using verbs when a link connects with an action. So for example, if you're creating a link to go to your account, using go to my account is a better option than just stating my account. It's more straightforward. This comes to the end of our teaching seminar. So the key takeaways of seminar are web usage among older adults is increasing. Older adults have special needs which often overlap with the needs of people with disabilities. W3C, the WAI-Age Project, addresses these needs. To provide a better and more accessible website, you must ensure your website design is perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. We also must support older adults by the design and development of assistive technology. At this point, we also created an evaluation survey which could help us learn ways to improve our teaching seminar in the future. We created a survey on SurveyMonkey, which is a survey building platform that enables survey creation, data collection, and analysis. You can go to SurveyMonkey by using the link as given on the presentation. Some of the questions, this is on the right, you can see how we laid out the question. This is a sample survey. I will go about the questions on the next slide. So these are the survey questions that we use. You can create different set of questions, of course. The basic idea was to understand that how accessible our teaching seminar was, if people understood the topics, and if the teaching seminar was interactive and engaging. We also asked what the best aspect of the presentation was. So if people like the Kahoot or the examples that we used or the presentation or anything else that they might like. Lastly, we ended the survey by asking an open-ended question about any changes that they might want to provide. Thank you so much. That's the end of our session.